Okay, so I think we're live. It's going to be so nice to be in person. I look forward to that day where we can look out at the members that are sitting in the audience and we can see faces. And so it's just so different doing our council meetings like this. But I want to say thank you to the council members for your, everybody here. And so as we get started, I believe Randy Haverfield has said that he will open us in prayer and lead us in the pledge tonight. And I've got a flag right behind me, so we can use that flag. And Randy, are you there?
I am here.
Thank you.
Victor's not on the line though, is he?
No, and I will say Victor is not joining us this evening due to his recent surgery, and so he will be absent this evening. And we have sent him a flower basket on behalf of our office and the council to wish him the best speedy recovery.
Great. So would you like the order and pledge to the allegiance first or the invocation first?
Let's do the prayer first.
Okay. Father, we thank you this evening and the opportunity to come together. We do pray for clarity of thought and pray that you'll give us wisdom and guidance as we listen and discuss the matters that are before us this evening. We thank you for all that you've done for us as a city and how you've been watching out for us. Thank you for the leadership of our mayor and the balance of the council. And we just give you praise for all that you're doing and will be doing in the days ahead. Pray that you be with Victor and Delcy this evening, and pray that you will continue to give him better health and help him to get over this surgery as quickly as possible so he can be back with us. And we give you praise for all this. In your name we do pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. I assume there's a flag there somewhere.
There is.
Okay.
Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Randy, thank you so much.
Well, thank you for the opportunity.
So as we move forward, I do not have any amendments to the agenda that I'm aware of. Council members, do you have any amendments to the agenda that I am not hearing from anyone or seeing that there are any? With that, then I would stand for a motion to approve the consent agenda as it is submitted.
So moved.
Mayor, are we going to have roll call or?
Yeah, we're going to. Excuse me, it's right here on my list. Darrell, thank you for keeping me in order. I so appreciate it. I just totally forgot. Hey, Debbie, would you like to do roll call?
Yes.
Thank you.
Here.
Mucci?
Here.
Levi?
Present.
Haverfield?
Here.
Bauer?
Here.
Thank you. Okay, so I started on the next one, so we can go to the next one then, which is the consent agenda.
I made the motion, Mayor.
Second. So it's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda as noted on our original agenda. Is there any discussion? Roll call.
Bruner?
Yes.
Levi? Levi? Bauer?
Yes.
Mucci?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Okay, so we have two proclamations this evening. And I'm going to start with the Building Safety Month. This is Building Safety Month. And so I'm just going to read both of our proclamations.
It's cutting out again.
So as I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and then I'll allow Patrick if he would like to say something. So the proclamation is, whereas the city of Nampa is committed to recognizing that our growth and strength depends on the safety and economic value of the homes, buildings, and infrastructure that serve our citizens both in everyday life and in times of natural disaster. And whereas our confidence in the structural integrity of these buildings that make up our community is achieved through the devotion of vigilant guardians, building safety and fire prevention officials, architects, engineers, and builders. Tradespeople, design professionals, laborers, plumbers, and others in the construction industry who work year-round to ensure the safe construction of buildings. And whereas our nation benefits economically and technologically from using the building codes that are developed by national voluntary consensus codes and standards developing organization, our government is able to avoid the high cost and complexity of developing and maintaining these codes, which are most widely adopted building safety and fire prevention codes in the world. Whereas these modern building codes include safeguards to protect the public from natural disasters such as hurricanes, snowstorms, tornadoes, wildland fires, floods, and earthquake, and whereas safer buildings, safer communities, safer world. The theme for Building Safety Month 2020 encourages all Americans to raise awareness about the importance of safe and resilient construction, fire prevention, disaster mitigation, and new technologies in the construction industry. During Building Safety Month, Americans are asked to consider the commitment to improve building safety and economic investment at home and in the community, and to acknowledge the essential service provided to all of us by local and state building departments, fire prevention bureaus, and federal agencies in protecting lives and property. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, do hereby proclaim the month of May 2020 in the City of Nampa as Building Safety Month. Accordingly, I encourage our citizens to join with their community in participation in Building Safety Month activities. Patrick, would you like to make any comments about your proclamation this evening?
Yeah, thank you so much for reading the entire thing. It's quite lengthy, but just to recap, it really is kind of timely. Safer buildings, safer community, and safer world. And we put a lot of due diligence, as does the fire department, in plan review and inspection of buildings to ensure that we have safe homes, and the public can be ensured that they go into a public building or a place of business, that it's a safe building. So thanks so much for reading it. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you to you and the work of the team and all of our city employees in really working to have a safe community. So thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the other proclamation that we have this evening is really just a proclamation recognizing our teachers and our graduating seniors. And it is, whereas the City of Nampa recognizes the effect the coronavirus of 2020 has had on the Nampa and Valley View school districts and our local and private educational institutions. And whereas the City of Nampa Mayor, Council, and residents value and appreciate the work of our educational institutions and the contribution they make to our community. And whereas the teachers have provided an excellent transition during this challenging time, let it be known that their creativity, care, and compassion for Nampa students has been valued. And whereas May 4th through the 8th is National Teacher Appreciation Week, and the City of Nampa appreciates our teachers and all they do to educate the next generation of leaders. And whereas the graduating class of 2020 has one of the most memorable years in history to graduate. And while missing the last portion of their traditional school year, let it be known that the Mayor, Council, and residents of Nampa applaud our graduating seniors and wish them the best as they pursue their potential and future. Now, therefore, I, Debbie Kling, Mayor of the City of Nampa, do hereby proclaim May 2020 as Graduating Class 2020 Acknowledgement Month. And I would encourage our citizens to join with their community in thanking our teachers and congratulating and wishing our graduating seniors the best as they pursue their future. And I believe Paula Keller is with us this evening. And unfortunately, I can't see everybody. Paula, are you there?
Mayor Kling, I am here.
Oh, good. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Mayor Kling, just want to take a moment to thank you for recognizing both our students and our very special group of seniors. The class of 2020 was born right after an incredible time of adversity in our nation. They were born right after 9/11 in that year that followed, and now they're graduating in a time of uncertainty. And specifically in the Nampa School District, they have endured a year that started with a virus and now appears to be ending with a virus, a different type of virus in the fall, and then this virus. I don't think any of us could have predicted on that Monday in March that when we left our school buildings, we wouldn't actually be able to return for the end of the year. So in recognizing the work of our teachers, we're deeply grateful. They have done an amazing thing in pivoting so very quickly to providing education online. The quality of education that they have been providing exceeds many of the things that we see happening across the state. And I know Valley View is doing much the same in providing for their students. One of the things I'm most impressed with, both our teachers and our students, although we don't get to see each other physically face to face and be in the same presence, we have cared for each other in an exemplary way by reaching out, by checking on each other. Our seniors specifically have done that. So you are right, our seniors have missed some of those things that we call traditional, but they are a group of seniors who will be remembered for many other things. Their care for their students, their perseverance during this time. And I'm hoping that they will be blessed and honored with the memories that they will make. And do want to announce tonight that during our regular graduation time in May 19th through 21, our high schools will be celebrating seniors. They'll be doing it virtually. I'm guessing you might see noisy parades around the city, perhaps around their attendance zone. So when you see that happen, step out of your doors and wave hi and support them. And then we are happy to work with the city of Nampa and have reorganized our face-to-face graduation for July 1. So we're excited that perhaps that opportunity to actually walk across that stage will be a dream that our seniors will get to realize after all. Mayor Kling, City Council, thank you for this proclamation.
Paula, thank you for your leadership during this time. It is greatly valued and appreciated, and please express our appreciation. I've talked to different teachers at different times, and it's just it's wonderful to see the creativity and what they've done in caring for their students. So it's so encouraging. And to our graduates, needless to say, it's memorable, definitely memorable. So anyway, thank you for your leadership. Thank you for joining us this evening.
My pleasure.
Thank you. So the next item on the agenda is the opportunity for a citizen to speak for 3 minutes on either an agenda or non-agenda item. And we do have one gentleman that has signed up to speak, and his name is Brent Flam. And Brent, are you online with us? And you may have to unmute yourself if you are. I'm not seeing you, but you know, Debbie, I know that you're there. Was I supposed to read his statement, or was he going to actually join us?
He didn't say he was going to join us.
Oh, I'm sorry, and I apologize. I do not have his statement in front of me. So, you know what, I'm going to have to come back to that. So we'll come back to his comments in just a few minutes, possibly after the agency report that will be coming next. So we'll come back to reading that. So Mayor and Council comments. I would like to take just a minute and give us an update kind of on where we are on the COVID side. I just want council to know from a city perspective, we have discussed reopening City Hall on the 11th, next Monday. We have purchased what we call sneeze guards, and that is a protection between the whoever is in our building and then our employees to ensure that there's not an opportunity for transmission. And so those will be installed in utility billing and in the clerk's office, and they will be prepared to be back open to the public on the 11th. And we will do a posting on this. And then the development services building, we anticipate opening to the public on the 18th. We have implemented some good policies that we are will be circulating through the city, and that is the wearing of masks when we're operating outside of our workspace. We are continuing to encourage physical distancing of 6 feet and more, not being in small rooms with meetings together. We've been doing a lot of webinar meetings, and we will continue to do those, and we will continue to ensure that not all employees within a department are in the same workspace at the same time, so that we don't in any way risk the possibility of exposure and taking a department out. So we're still have some working from home and some rotating in. The other thing I wanted to mention is the rec center will remain closed at this time. According to the governor's timeline, I believe that they will have the opportunity to, the rec center is able to open under the next phase. Day camps will reopen in small groups, limited to 8, approximately in a small group format. Babysitter training, lifeguard certification class, and private swim lessons will be held. Swimming lessons have to enter from not the standard location. The locker rooms will remain closed. They are to come in and exit, come prepared and dressed for their lessons. The restrooms will be opening, I believe. I'm trying to think, I think that was today. The park restrooms will be open. We will be sanitizing those twice a day. The teams are able to practice, but no games will be played until a later time. And all of this information is actually online. You could find this, I'm sure, at the Parks and Recs Department website, at our website. Playgrounds are going to remain closed. We are still waiting for some guidelines from the health district, and because of conflicting information, we've not opened them yet. We hope to open them soon, but we want to ensure it's a safe environment. The golf courses, while they are open, the clubhouses remain closed. And so please feel free to reach out if there are any questions. And regarding the main swimming pools for the city, we don't know the date that those will open. I do anticipate them to open at some point. We just don't have the exact date yet. So I guess I would ask council if you have any questions for myself or Darren regarding any of the parks information or anything I've shared. Feel free to reach out. Does anyone have a question right now? And I'm not hearing anyone unmute. So if you do, please reach out to me. I think I now have the 3-minute citizen letter. Council, you have all received this letter. I guess out of courtesy, I'm going to go ahead and read it because it was in our packet. I think I will go ahead and read it just because this is what we would do at a typical council meeting. So, dear Nampa City officials, I would like to request the City Council revisit property taxes. It is my opinion that Canyon County and Nampa City should lower the property taxes, which would obviously require large adjustment in how our city runs. I would like to give a little of my background to provide some perspective. This individual, Brent Flam, grew up in Rexburg. Upon graduating college, his wife and he moved to Utah. As you know, the economic opportunities there are plentiful. However, I always had a desire to return to Idaho to raise my family. 12 years later, the nonprofit work due to nonprofit work, I had the opportunities back in Idaho. I was blessed to be selected for Nampa, Idaho. My wife and I were very excited to return to the culture and the opportunities here. When looking for a home in this area, we had several people tell us to avoid Nampa and look at Meridian. They primarily cited property taxes of Canyon County as being too high. At that time, I compared the prices of new homes from 2 of the largest builders and compared the property tax percentage for each county. While Meridian home prices were higher, the per month mortgage increase for that higher home price was very close to the same per month increase due to higher taxes in Canyon County. I acknowledge this is a rough estimate method, but from a personal financial standpoint, it is wiser to use our money towards a personal asset, our home, rather than giving it to a government organization. Ultimately, my wife and I chose to live in Nampa and to be part of the community we would be working in and serving. Since that time, I have been disappointed to find out that the property taxes were actually higher than my original research. I have tried to find information to understand why. I have also tried to estimate where our community stands compared to similar sized communities that I'm familiar with in Idaho and Utah. I have also read comments from Nampa City officials, past and present, stating things like the other counties have more taxing entities, make sure to compare them all. Ada County homes are higher value, so we need a higher percentage to capture the same amount per household. Also, our city was run down, so now we need to make up for it. I have heard city employees talk about not getting raises as well as not getting raises like other departments do, such as police. According to my research, the effective property tax of Canyon County has the highest percentage of property taxes in Western Idaho and the top 5 in the state. Canyon County is about 25 to 30% higher than the state average. And Debbie, I'm not sure how long I've been reading. I wasn't tracking, but I'm thinking this is going past our 3 minutes. Are you tracking my time, Debbie? Possibly not.
I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Okay, that's fine. So, yes.
I think, like you said, we've had this to review in our packet. I'm not sure that it's necessary for you to read the whole message to us. Obviously, we've had a chance to read it, understand the tenor of what his request is, and this isn't an action item, so we'll just take it for what it is and move forward if that's all right with you.
That is fine, and thank you, Randy. I think we were hitting probably that 3-minute time frame, and so, you know, we appreciate the comments that were made there and do take them seriously, and so it is in the packet for both the public and for the council to review. So, Randy, thank you so much. So, with that said,
Mayor Darrell here, I do have a question. Will there be, I know nothing will happen here as far as during this council meeting. Would there be opportunity if Mr. Flam wanted to make an appointment with you or whoever as far as just to discuss that?
we'd be more than happy.
Okay, and I that's just not Mr. Flam. I know you are so open to that, and so any citizen that would like to, you know, as far as make an appointment, just not walk in, but make an appointment with your office. Okay, appreciate it.
Darrell, thank you for mentioning that. Absolutely, we will do so. And just for anyone that is listening, one thing I can say about myself and our entire council is that we are all very, very interested in the property taxes and our citizens and the impact of these taxes. So thank you. I appreciate the council.
Totally forgot about it.
Sorry, go ahead.
Logging into the Nampa City meeting right now, and I kind of just forgot about it.
Okay, was that Mr. Flam?
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so the next item on the agenda are agency and commission reports. So item 3.1 is Valley Regional Transit. This is an on-demand transit pilot project, and I believe Jeff Barnes is here to introduce Leslie, who will be providing an update.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. About 1.5 years ago, Tom Points, the Public Works Director, and myself went to VRT and talked to Director Kelly Battersheim about ways we could work together to benefit public transportation in Nampa. And one of the things that she discussed was emerging technologies and this Uber and Lyft type technology that was coming in public transportation. So now, you know, 1.5 years later, they have researched and we have met as a Canyon County group, and there is a on-demand project that we'd like to introduce tonight. Some of you have heard some bits and pieces about it, but it is a pilot project that's underway. VRT is leading the way and has done a really great job of getting different players in Canyon County involved. So with that, I'd like to introduce Leslie Pedrosa. She's the VRT Director of Operations, and she will be presenting tonight.
Thanks, Jeff. Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, going to try to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
Perfect. So what this is, it's an on-demand transit pilot program that we are looking to start for Canyon County. It's going to replace what we currently run as the local fixed route between Nampa and Caldwell. It's nothing that will interfere with the inter-county service that currently runs between Canyon County and Ada County into downtown Boise. We're not looking to make any changes to that at this time. What this is, we know that transit plays an important role in the future for Nampa. We estimate by the year 2040, Nampa will have a population of 161,000. Caldwell will be at approximately 110,000. It's a plan. We know that there's a need for transit-oriented development. And these are designated around transportation corridors with the emphasis of promoting the public use transit, bicycles, carpooling, or other formats of low impact transportation in lieu of a single ride vehicle. Education, business investments in transit. We've been in discussions with CWI and Amazon already, as well as Job Corps, to partner with us to help us to expand the they currently provide a footprint on. We're also looking to better serve the low-income seniors and persons with disabilities in the area. There's currently limited transit services in Nampa and Caldwell serving those individuals on a regular basis, and we're looking to help grow that. Transit saves approximately $9,000 per year per person on a family income of approximately $43,000 is what they estimate, as well as a reduction of congestion on the roadways by sharing vehicles. The current challenges we face right now, we have 3 routes that run in the Nampa-Caldwell area. Route 51 runs between North and South Nampa from Walmart on 12th Avenue to CWI. The 55 is a shuttle that's paid for by CWI, and it runs between their 4 campuses, 1 on the boulevard and the other 3 off of Idaho Center. And then the 52 route, which runs between Nampa and Caldwell. They're pretty, time-wise, takes about 2 hours to make 1 trip on the 52. The 51 only runs in peak time service, which is in the AM and the PM. There is low ridership between all 3 routes. We have less than 5 boardings per hour. And with low ridership, it's a higher cost per boarding. And we're looking to reduce that with this new service we're looking into. And over the last few years, ridership has declined based off the services that we are providing. We know that the public interest is growing in the Treasure Valley. Compared to other regions our size, we spend about 1/4 of what those other agencies are that we compare ourselves with. Excuse me. With the partnerships we're looking to build with private industry as well as nonprofits, we hope to expand that footprint into the neighborhoods of Nampa and to other areas to help with shopping. So looking to work on the Saturday Shopper Shuttle and Winco and the St. Alphonsus and St. Al's partnerships like we have in Ada County. CWI is already willing to look into this. They're part of our Canyon County project team that we started having this discussion with to grow. And because of the current level of service we provide in Canyon County, we know it's unattractive to many users, and we're hoping to change that. On-demand transit pilot is a new way to deliver service, as Jeff said, kind of like an Uber type of service. We'll still use our current infrastructure, which is our current buses, our current bus stops. We will look to add additional bus stops, but it's as simple as you use your phone, you request a ride from bus stop A to bus stop B. Software that we're looking to purchase will maximize and optimize that trip to allow you to get from point A to point B quicker as well as implementing other stops along the way on your way there if they're in the same general area. The service is going to be available during the same times we run now, which is 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. You can use your smartphone to do a ride. You can use your home computer. You would also be able to call in if you don't have either of those options to schedule a ride as well. Our goal is to have a wait time of less than 30 minutes or less, and there would be no changes to the fare structure that we currently. So our outcomes that we're hoping to get: access to more destinations, a bigger service area, an increase in ridership, improved customer satisfaction, and a lower cost per passenger. We're hoping that we hit all those bullet points by the survey that we're putting out this week. And we're also partnering up with the cities for them to push the survey out as well, because we want to make sure we're hitting the right places that people want to go. So we're asking for their feedback where they would like to see service. And we're pushing that out. We're hoping to get new employees, students, seniors, just recreational users, as well as shoppers on this new service. Some of the benefits we get will be better data, better reporting. I know a lot of times people want to know, where do people get on the bus and where do they get off the bus? And with this new software, we will have that data. If you look at the graph, you can see number 1 is a stop in this system that we were using, as well as stop 4475. So you can see where they get on and all the different destinations that people go from those areas. So it'll help us as we grow this system to put bus stops in the right places based off where people want to go. Currently, we have the proposals have been completed and we're reevaluating them now. Over the spring and the summer, we'll be working with whatever provider we choose and starting to market that and push that information out to the public. And we expect this to be in place October 1st of this year. And with that, any questions?
Leslie, thank you for that presentation. I appreciate it. I do appreciate the research that's been done to give consideration to how better to serve and to get the cost per ride down and to serve a greater population base. So thank you for that. Council, do you have any questions at this time?
Mayor?
Yes.
Leslie, thanks for the presentation. There's been a lot of work done on the back end around data gathering. Really appreciate that. Leslie, where have you seen this work in other municipalities and what have results been there? Like-sized municipalities, sorry. Thank you.
There's one agency that I'm very familiar with in California, San Joaquin Regional Transit District. Transitioned over to this. They're a county-wide system that provides service to a county about the size, just a little bit larger than Ada County. But they started the same concept with 5 vehicles, and within 1 year, they've grown to 20 vehicles. And it's the same type of service. It's all on demand. The only time that a body will schedule a ride is if someone's at a doctor's office and they're running late. So it's been very successful for them, and they're looking to grow again, possibly at the end of this year.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? Seeing none, Jeff, would you have any closing comments?
No, thank you for VRT coming and presenting tonight, and we will be back with updates. We were happy with the number of candidates that turned in RFQs, so it will be we will keep in touch with the council as we're into the project.
Jeff, thank you. And Leslie, thanks again. Thank you again for your time. And we will just look forward to watching this unfold and updates as they come.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So that concludes our agency reports. The next item on the agenda are staff reports, and we do have a staff report regarding our council liaisons from Rick Hogeboom.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, members of the public who are watching. I know tonight's a long night, so I want to just give a brief update on council liaison assignments. I've had some correspondence with you over the last couple months about potential openings, and there's 2 action items later on the agenda. The MAP Fund trustee and the library board. And I sent an email out earlier today just explaining the rationale and what gets placed on an agenda, and then what's more an administrative decision as far as how to place council members as liaisons. Most of our boards and commissions, and even some task force, they don't require through bylaws that there is a liaison, but in the spirit of sort of diplomacy, and I know the boards and commissions appreciate it when there's an interested member of the council who wants to attend most, if not all, of their meetings and takes an interest in their affairs, that they appreciate that support. So just for public open meeting laws, 2 council members can attend the public meeting laws. It's just you create a challenge when there's 3 who are attending. So feel free, if you have an interest in some, you may attend, but the whole point of having a liaison is just from an administrative standpoint to assure that everyone knows that there's a different group that's covered. So everything from airport to arts, historic preservation, bike ped, board of appraisers, building site standards, council of aging, and on. I'm not going to list each and every single one, but we've had interest from various members of the council and serving as a liaison on some of these boards and commissions. We also have sort of like task force, like the Sister City, which Councilman Rodriguez is helping with. Mayor's Teen Council, Councilwoman Levi is a great assistance with the Mayor's Teen Council. So I have a spreadsheet that I'll send out that's just really an administrative housekeeping sheet that just lets everyone know that each one's covered. Later on in tonight's council meeting, the MAP Fund requires through their bylaws that the council does appoint someone. And so where bylaws require that sort of action, it will be placed as an agenda item. The same goes for groups you just heard from VRT, Compass. There are several along with the MAP Fund, as well as the Napa Development Commission. Councilman Haverfield, Councilman Bruner serve as commissioners on that board. And so there are certain ones that require a vote and an action, and those will be agendized. Venue management or golf commission liaison, those are just going to be decided just based on interest from council, and we'll just kind of through housekeeping keep a list of those. So that'll explain kind of moving forward how things are going to work. We've also implemented a process. We're finalizing a board and commission process for, this is the public facing. And so we are so grateful for the members of our public who devote lots of their time and energy to serve on all of these boards and commissions. Literally dozens of members of our public collectively serve. And we've been doing a great job. I just want to give a big shout out to Amy Bowman. When we know we're trying to 60 days in advance to 90 days in advance, let the public know that there's an upcoming vacancy. We get the word out and invite members of the public to apply. And even if there's an incumbent who wants to reapply, we still go through this process of looking at all the applicants, and we go through an interview process, and then we make a recommendation to the mayor, who then places that recommendation, that recommended appointment before you as a council. So I just want to let you know that I think the process right now is the most transparent and the most inclusive it's been, based on the efforts that we make to leverage Amy through communications outward to the public, to leverage all the advertising tools that we have through social media. So just really proud of the process that we have to get people seated. And again, we do want to be inclusive and get the word out and have members of the community have the opportunity to apply and serve on our different boards and commissions. So that was really the report tonight. I just want to thank you, council members, for showing interest in being sort of a diplomat liaison to the different boards. And with the library board, though their bylaws don't require it, it was an action item 2 years ago. So just based on precedent, we decided to keep it an action item for tonight. their bylaws do require that the library board of trustees, they exist through state statute. So the library board is unique in that regard, and they must submit a budget that has to be approved by council. So because of the high premium of relationship tied to that entity, it seems that we should have a more formalized liaison to the library board. So that explains the rationale behind that. That's all I have tonight, Mayor and Council, unless you have any questions.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. Council, do you have any questions? So I'm not hearing any, but I think they know who to reach out to if they do. So Rick, thank you for your efforts on that. It's appreciated. Thank you very much. So our next staff communication is from Butch, our Director of IT. Butch, I know you're on, so I'll let you go ahead and take over.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to try and be really brief so that we can get through this quickly. I know you guys have a rather large agenda. I wanted to take a little time to reach out to you in light of the COVID activities that are taking place and let you know that from an IT standpoint, we've been extremely busy, as you can well imagine, trying to keep things running and trying to keep things safe. In the course of doing that, last year, I'll remind the council that you approved for us a storage and backup system replacement and upgrade to the tune of about $255,000. So we engaged with a number of vendors to find a solution for that file storage and backup recovery needs. And we wanted to make sure that we provided the city with a solid system, also keeping in mind we want to be cost conscious as we do this. So we spoke to a number of providers and were able to narrow it down to about 4. But before I discuss the numbers on that, I do want to put a disclaimer in here that we decided not to go with a cloud solution at this particular point in time. While it is very appealing when you first take a look at it, the cloud is still in its infancy when it comes to pricing strategies. That's one of the challenges that we're finding. So storing the data is very cheap, it's very inexpensive. You look at it and it's very inexpensive. Where they get you is when you have to recover data. So it's fine when you want to store it, but when it comes time to recover, that's when the prices and the charges go exorbitantly high. So that was one of the reasons. And then also, once you commit yourself to the cloud and your data is in the cloud, they have you. And so if they should decide to raise their prices, we can negotiate those prices, but they have pretty strong leverage against us at that particular point in time. And we could always opt out at that point if it became exorbitant, but we would have to leave it there until we put something in place to replace it with. And during that time, what we're seeing in certain cases is the costs tend to go up at that point in time for that interim period of time while you're just sitting there kind of idle and they know you're leaving. So with that in mind, we know they're working to improve those pricing strategies and the way that's going to happen in the future. And that may become something we look at again. But at this particular point in time, we decided that was not in the best interest of the city at this time. So once we determined the vendors that met our needs, we went and had those discussions. Commvault was the vendor that we had before, and they've upgraded their technologies and they've added some additional pieces to that, and their costs went up extremely high. In fact, the bid we got coming back from them was about $290,000 plus an additional $90,000 for some hardware that we would have to have in order to make that happen. So that was well above the approved budget that we had for that. Now we could scale that back, but by scaling back, we forfeit significantly the ability to provide solid backup and recovery for the city, and the impacts during an extreme downtime would have been severe. Rubrik was another company. They came in at about $240,000 plus the $90,000 additional storage hardware that we would have to purchase with that. So again, above our budget, and they could scale down as well. But again, we're paying the price for that. And in a catastrophic event, for sure, we would be in a bad place there. Dell came in with a bid, and I'm convinced they didn't want our business. Their bid was about $400,000, so it was way out of spec. So that left us with a bid that came in from HP, and they came in with a bid for the whole package, that software backup and all of those things, for about $230,000. And so we spoke with them about it. We told them, that seemed like a solid price as far as they were charging plenty. And as a result of our discussions with that, they came back to us. They reduced the price even further. So we were able to get the price down to $197,000, and that's for everything. And what we get from that is the ability to do backups more often without impact. And so that may not seem like something that's important until you lose a file. So if you're working on something and your system crashes and you lose a file, what you can do today is you can come to IT and you can say, we need that file restored. Well, with the current backup schema that we have in our existing system, we back up nightly. So anything you did between last night when we backed it up, I think it's 4 in. Anything between that period of time and the time that you were doing work, you've lost all that data. Well, now with the new system, we're able to do it hourly, should we choose to do that. So then when you go to back it up, you're losing within that hour's time, we back that up. So that's significant. What we don't get from this, and so what we decided to do was we didn't buy the Cadillac or the Mercedes. Okay, that's not what we're going after. We're going after a nice, solid Chevy. And if you're a Ford person, okay, we'll call it a nice, solid Ford, whichever one. But it gives you an idea of the scale that we're looking at. So for backups and things like that, we're solid. We've got redundancy and everything else. The only time we would see an issue potentially is if we had a catastrophic event at the Hugh Nichols Public Safety Building where our server room is today, and we will have an alternative that we're setting up at the new NDSC building as well. So we'll have the redundancy in place for that. But in the case that we would have let's say a bomb went off, or heaven forbid an airplane hit the building or whatever, and the entire system went down, the city, we can restore the city back up with their equipment, but it would be limping for a period of time until we got everything back 100%. We'd have to order new equipment, and we can get some of those things overnighted, but the backup and restore system wouldn't be to have the Cadillac, you'd have immediate up 100% and everything else. And we just don't feel like the odds of that happening are so small that the investment or the juice isn't worth the squeeze, so to speak. So we decided not to go with that. And given the fact that our ERP system is already a cloud-based system, so that part of the city would continue on, that's not an issue at all from that perspective. So it's the other pieces of software throughout the city that are being used that would be impacted, and it wouldn't be shut down, it would be just hindered. So the bottom line, what I wanted to share with you tonight is through all of this and through the work that we've been able to do here, we feel like we've been able to provide a system to the city that is extremely solid, that we can feel good about, that we can sleep at night without having to worry about. And we were able to save the city $58,000 as a result of that. And so that's really what I wanted to share tonight.
Butch, I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate your stewardship. And I think you've communicated that clearly. I would like to ask council if you have any questions.
Mayor, I don't have a question, but Butch Darrell here, and just thank you to you and your team. And I'm sure you're looking at quality, but just to watch the taxpayers, citizens' dollars. I appreciate that so much. Thanks.
Thank you.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
Butch, your primary storage is at Hugh Nichols, is that correct?
That's where our primary backup system is. Okay. Yes, that's correct.
So the HP storage, where would that be at?
Okay, that's where that would go into. It would replace the Commvault system that we have, but then we would have a secondary hardware and system set up at the NDSC building.
So the geography of our backup is primary Hugh Nichols, secondary at the new building on 12th Avenue, so both in Nampa.
Correct.
And you feel that you're comfortable with that? I mean, if there was a catastrophic event, and something were to happen at both buildings, the geography of not like being in Boise or somewhere else in the Northwest is what we'd be possibly risking.
Those are definitely things we could look at should we, if that's something that we want to do. There's additional costs, obviously, but we could certainly look at that.
Again, that's from what I've heard, that's the thing to be concerned about. And then are you comfortable with the ability for us to be safe from data breach as far as what we've heard other cities? Do you feel the firewalls are in place and are going to protect us potentially?
Yeah, so those are separate things that we're addressing from the backup and recovery. We did build into the backup system that it is immutable. So once the data is backed up, it cannot be modified. Now that doesn't solve the problem if I backed up the malware into it already, if it had already infiltrated our system unbeknownst to us, which is something that any system, even a Mercedes, would do. But from a security perspective, we have other measures in place to protect us and to take care of that. And that's my biggest focus that's been going on right now since we've gone into this COVID event. We've got a number of people working from home, obviously coming in through VPN, and we are working very diligently to make sure that we have the latest and greatest. And we're working with the state and federal agencies, giving us information on what to be aware of, what to be looking for, how to protect against it, and all of those things. So we're actively doing that and meeting in webinars literally on a weekly basis to talk about these things, because that's the number one thing. And as you'll notice, we've switched these meetings over to Microsoft Teams from Zoom. That was a result of the security issues that have come up. Zoom just continues to be a security nightmare for a number of agencies. The military branches, the company of Google, and several others have they banned it from their systems completely because of security reasons. And so while Microsoft Teams is not the end all be all, there's always nefarious people that figure out ways to get around it. It is much more safe, and that's why we are where we're at today.
Thank you, Butch. I appreciate your explanation.
You bet.
Are there any other questions? Okay, Butch, thank you very much. Appreciate your work. Thank you for providing the update. Thank you. I guess I'm making sure I'm not muted. Our next staff communication is from Patrick Sullivan. He's going to provide us a brief update on our capital projects.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Thanks for this opportunity. I'll make it brief. We have 3 remaining capital projects that 2 of which have bid and 1 we need to design and bid. And then we just finished, I'm gonna back up, and we just finished the first floor and the basement remodel for the Nampa Development Services Center building. And with that, we moved 6 departments into the first floor and basement. And then then we also moved IT and human resources or workforce development into City Hall. And then with that move, we consolidated facility or finance, and then we moved the clerk's office as well so that we could make it all work. And then fire admin moved to the economic development building down on 12th Avenue. So we're complete with the moves. I think they've all been successful. We were able to do this under our total budget. We still have some outstanding furniture pieces that were put on hold because they closed down all of the furniture plants in Michigan, where we had ordered the steel case fixtures. So those will be coming probably July, but we're able to make do with what we have so far. And so very successful project with that. We got a new roof, entirely new HVAC system, and then we were able to refurbish and build some hardwall offices and provide new finishes in the first floor and the basement. And then now I'm going to go forward on the two of the capital projects we have remaining are the Hugh Nichols Public Safety Building deck coating project, which came in well under budget, which will allow us to provide funding for the Fire Station 5 siding project that came in slightly over budget. And then we'll hold some of that contingency back because we still need to design and bid the fleet roof. We did go out to bid with a national contract, trying to get a captured contract for that, but it came in so far over budget that we're going to have to just design it and go out to competitive bid on it. And then we'll get into the deck coating of the fire station projects when we get into the action items. So I'll stand for any questions, and that's where we're at with our capital projects.
Are there any questions for Patrick? None? Okay.
Thank you.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and go through 2 action items under new business, and those are the appointments of our one member of City Council to serve on the MAP Fund Committee Fund. And so, Rick, I don't have on my agenda item. If you're there, would you like to just introduce this one real quickly? Because the name isn't on here. Are you there, Rick? Okay, so he's in the office. You know what? I guess
I'm sorry, Mayor. My computer's acting up here. So there's a recommendation for Councilman today. They actually have their annual meeting scheduled, I think, in a week or two, and they meet once a year to handle the major acquisition fund through the fire district. And that was the recommendation for the first one, and then Councilman Levi just since I'm on here. All right.
Who was that was recommended for the MAP Fund?
Councilman Bauer.
Okay, thank you. Jacob Bauer. Okay. And so let's just vote on that first. That is the one action item. And so I guess I would have a question. Do any councilman have any questions, or I would stand for motion to appoint Jacob Bauer to serve on the MAP Fund?
Mayor?
Yes.
I'll make a motion that Councilman Bauer serve on the MAP Fund Committee.
Second.
Thank you. That was a motion was made by Sandy Levi, seconded by Darrell Bruner. Are there any other comments? Roll call.
Mucci?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Thank you. And then item 5.2 on the agenda is the appointment of a council service liaison to the Nampa Library Board. And go ahead, Rick. The appointee for that is?
Mayor, I'll just make the motion. It's already been explained that Councilwoman Levi be that member representative for the council.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Moved by Councilman Bruner and seconded by Councilman Bauer. Are there any other further comments? Roll call.
Mucci?
Yes.
Levi?
Yes.
Haverfield?
Yes.
Bauer?
Yes.
Bruner?
Yes. Well, no, but I want to.
Thank you very much. Okay, with that, it is exactly 7 o'clock and it's time to move into our public hearings. So as we begin our public hearings this evening, needless to say, it's I believe we have 5 public hearings. We have a number of people signed up as we go through the evening. I am going to do my best to keep it straight, but well, it's a process. I want to say in advance thank you to Rodney, our Director of Planning and Zoning, and his team for working diligently to step us into this public hearing process and to help us get through these items. So we're going to begin with our first public hearing is item 6.1 on the agenda. This is an action. South Kings Road. This is a 4.1 acre portion of tax 6 in tracks 15 and 16 in the Nampa Heights edition. This is for fourplex apartments for Tim Christovich with Spring Pines LLC. And our applicant, is our applicant Tim? I'm not sure who the actual applicant is our applicant with us this evening.
I'm here.
Thank you. Could you state your name and address? And then thank you for providing a quick presentation on your project.
I'm Tim Kristovich. I'm in Kuna. Address is 2335 North Greyhawk Avenue.
Thank you. And then feel free to tell us about the project that you're working on.
We're looking at fourplex multifamily units, 12 of them, and maybe one with threeplex. We're not sure about that yet. That would give us the 51 units. We want to do a nice little complex, nothing real major. Make it real. Just nice, simple, little affordable housing. We do build energy efficient homes. And complexes. We have several projects across the valley from Eagle out to Caldwell, Middleton. And this would be one of our first projects in the Napa area, and we'd love to be part of the Napa community.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. We appreciate your interest in our community. Thank you so much. So Tim, the process that we're going to go through this evening is following what you just shared. I'm going to ask the council if they have any questions for you. And then we'll have staff report. We will follow that with public hearing, public testimony, and then you will have the opportunity to come back and speak to us at the conclusion. So hang tight. You can go ahead and remute again. And however, I should ask council, do you have any questions for our applicant? Okay, see none. Thank you for hanging tight, and we will move on to our staff report.
Okay, thank you, Mayor and Council. This is Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. I hope you can see my screen okay. The action requested from you this evening is the approval of the annexation and zoning to RD, defined as two-family residential, of a parcel located at 44 South Kings Road. As mentioned, the applicant is requesting the RD zoning so they can pursue a fourplex development at this location. Conceptually, they do anticipate 51 units in 12 fourplex buildings and 1 triplex on 4.1 acres. The property is shown as medium density residential on the future land use map in the comprehensive plan. It's currently not within the city limits, but it is adjacent to the city limits on the south and west sides, which are zoned RS6. It's enclaved and adjacent to other enclaved properties on the north and east sides. The utilities are readily available, and access to the property will be taken from Kings Road. We received comments from the school district and the Nampa Engineering Division. The school district identified the schools that will potentially be impacted by this development and stated that they have no concerns with capacity in those areas, but they do encourage the development of sidewalks and lighting at the proposed bus stops if possible. The Engineering Division provided their standard list of conditions for annexation, including the dedication of right-of-way, alignment of access points, frontage improvements, and connection to city utilities. So this was one of the first planning and zoning hearings that we held after we were no longer able to have citizens in the council chambers. So we offered the chance for them to come into the lobby and sign up or leave written correspondence. So here is a list of the individuals that submitted correspondence or signed in as opposed at planning and zoning. And their concerns were stated in the planning and zoning minutes that were forwarded to you last Friday. The applicable regulations that apply to the annexation in this case are, in order for a property to be annexed, it must be contiguous to the city limits or be enclaved by other properties. And zoning must be consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan future land use map. The recommended findings based on the applicable regulations are listed on your screen. So you have to be sure that they connect to the city limits, which it does on the north, south, and west boundary. It can be reasonably assumed to be available to the orderly development of the city. The proposed zoning does conform with the comprehensive plan, and the property owner that is requesting the annexation and zoning to RMH plans to develop multifamily units there. So staff analysis based on the recommended findings show that the requested annexation does connect as stated. The area is reasonably assumed to be an orderly development. The proposed zoning does conform to the comprehensive plan future land use map for medium density residential land use. And the property owner has requested it to construct a fourplex multifamily dwelling unit, which is allowed use in the RD zone. The City Council will need to determine whether the above findings apply to this proposed annexation and zoning. The uses that are allowed in the RD zone can be found at that link, and I hope that you all follow that link to see what was allowed, although in an RD zone, most of that is residential. So the area surrounding the proposed development is primarily single-family residential subdivisions in the RS6 zoning district. The typical concerns from the single-family residents for multifamily housing include traffic, privacy due to the height of the residential buildings, concerns about density not fitting with the existing subdivisions and feel of the area, and the perception that crime will increase. Traffic on Kings Road can be significant during peak hours of the morning and evening commute. Since Kings Road was recently reclassified from collector to minor arterial, it now requires a total future right-of-way of 100 feet. This will help to accommodate the existing and future traffic demands for the area. The requested RD zoning district has a maximum height limit of 2 stories or 30 feet. Most of the homes in the area are single-family homes. Council may use this opportunity to add conditions in this regard if you so choose. Though the density proposed is greater than the city annexed subdivisions in the area, the proposed zoning compliant with the newly adopted comprehensive plan, which recommends 2.5 to 8 units per gross acre in a medium density residential designation. The RD zone provides for uses and lot sizes that fit into that range. Nampa City Council has the discretion to determine whether the proposed land use is appropriate for the location proposed. It is unclear, of course, if crime will increase due to the development. A well-designed, constructed, and maintained development may lessen the potential increase to crime. You may also recommend conditions to help lessen that demand on emergency services in that regard as well. So, should you approve this request for annexation zoning RD, staff would recommend the conditions as listed in your staff report and any others that you see fit to impose at this time. I will stand for questions.
Mayor Kling.
Yes.
Christy, I'm looking, I apologize. I did not see another email come out with any attachments specific to this project. So if there was there a layout or proposed layout for the property? Is there a secondary access point other than Kings Road to access the parcel for this large of a development?
Mayor and Councilman Haverfield, no, Kings Road would be the access for this. It is under the 29 units that would be required for a second access, so it meets fire code in that regard. The email that was sent out on Friday came from Nate Haverman in the clerk's office. He sent out, I believe, a couple things attached there on Friday. There was 2 sets of minutes and something else. I think there was 3 attachments to it. So I can read through those if you're interested in hearing what the comments were. I kind of summarized them in my staff report, but I'm certainly happy to do that if you need me to.
No, I was looking for a visual. This states 51 units. You just said 31.
Oh, well, and then I misspoke. It's 51. So it'd be 12 fourplex units for 48 units and 1 triplex, which would be 3 more. So that's 51.
So my understanding is per unit, if you get over 30 or 35, it requires a secondary access point. Am I wrong?
Nope, you're accurate on that.
Christy.
So where's the secondary access point is my question.
This is Daniel from engineering. That is for single family dwellings. For apartments, the number is different, and I believe it goes up to 75 or 100 units on an apartment complex, rather than the 29 single family in the fire code. I don't know if Chief Carpenter is on and can speak to that, but I know that that number is different between single family and apartment buildings.
Daniel, has there been a preliminary plat proposed yet on this or not?
I would defer to Christy on that, whether we've seen a proposed layout or not.
I would assume that the access point off of Kings Road would be directly in proportion with Kingsgate Drive across to the west.
That would be engineering's recommendation, yes.
Right. So the development then would be, I would imagine there would have to be some means of fire engine access that would allow a turnaround inside of it. But the secondary access point is what's got me baffled. I would have thought maybe something would have been put in place for access onto Parkview Way to the south, but
I don't, like I said, I don't believe where this is not single family dwellings, I do not believe it needs a secondary access under the fire code.
So is Chief Carpenter on to be able to answer that question?
Mayor Kling, this is Fire Marshal Johnson. I can answer that question.
Thank you.
Sure. Mayor Kling, council members, it's actually 100 once we go to multifamily housing. So this one would be okay with one point of access.
So Mayor Kling,
Yes.
Last question then to Christy. Has there been a preliminary plat proposed with this development yet?
Mayor, Council Haberman, no, there has not been a preliminary plat or a concept plan submitted for this proposal.
All right, thank you.
Are there any further questions for staff? Okay, seeing none, this is a public hearing and there is an opportunity for the public to provide comment. And I have one person signed up on this particular item. The name is Elizabeth Palmer. Is Elizabeth Palmer connected to where we could hear from you? So, Rodney, I might have you look and see if she's on. So, pardon?
I couldn't see her name listed.
Okay, so she is opposed to this particular project. She did wish to speak at this hearing. So I don't know if you have a telephone number for her, Rodney? And then I might have you on the other ones, kind of see who's, that's kind of a difficult thing to follow up, but.
Mayor?
Yes.
Do we know if Frank Palmer, who is listed as opposed, is, Rodney, do you know if that is, are they related, Elizabeth and Frank?
I don't know.
I don't know that either.
Where are you seeing that name?
Just in the comments.
Okay, in the comments. Okay.
Yeah, so where it has the opposed or just, yeah. So I couldn't tell you on my page because I'm looking on my iPad. There's a Frank Palmer of 44 South Kings Road.
Yes, and Elizabeth Palmer is at that same address. So yes.
Thank you.
So I'm not sure what to do other than note that we have, I think, 2 individuals that are opposed, but I don't know what the opposition is from. Rodney, from the, do you have any indications?
So I have their phone number. I will attempt to get a hold of them, but I don't know the specifics there. Christy might have more information about what their comments were.
Okay, we'll let you quickly call so we don't miss the opportunity. And Christy, do you have any idea?
I don't actually. I just saw the online sign up, so all it says is the same thing that you have in front of you there, unfortunately.
Okay.
Mayor, just in the planning and zoning comments by Mr. Palmer, I know that the question was asked. I'm sorry, I'm outside. Just a minute. Would have to be a motorcycle go by right when I started to talk. Mr. Palmer inquired how soon the development would commence because they would need to find another place to live. Has that question been answered by the developer? How soon their plan is to commence the project?
Oh, that would be a question for the developer when he comes back.
Okay, very good.
Okay. And we are pausing for just a moment for Rodney.
Mayor,
Yes.
may I ask Christy a question, please?
Yes.
Kind of to follow up on Councilman Bruner's comment from the P&Z minutes. Why does the gentleman need to find another place to live?
Mayor and Councilman Levi, that he's a renter there currently. They're renting that small structure you can see there in the aerial where the black dot is. That is a structure. They're currently renting that building. And so I believe, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I believe they did have conversations after the planning and zoning hearing in the lobby about some certain things. But I don't think that they've pinned down an exact layout for the property. So they're not putting a commitment date on it yet.
Okay, thank you. And may I ask another question, please, Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, Christy, I apologize. I'm trying to flip back and forth between my packet screen and the screen of what you all are showing. And behind the property where it looks like a vacant field, I can't even read the name of the street, and Victory Road, there seems to be at the very end by Victory Road a home, but that's an agricultural lot, I'm assuming?
That's a separate lot, yes.
Okay. But at the current time, is it just agricultural are they using it currently?
So the backside of 44 South Kings is not currently being farmed.
Thank you. That's what the terminology I was trying to think of, being farmed. Okay. Just wasn't working for me. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council at this time?
Mayor Kling, just one follow-up for Christy.
Yes.
Christy, what is the unit per acre count for this development?
Oh, I'd have to grab my count. You know what? I think it's written.
I see what the proposed, where it says what the comp plan allows, and you're saying that this density is less than that, but that's not what I'm coming up with. So can you tell me what you've determined what it is?
Well, gross, if you divide 51 by 4.1 acres, it's 12 and a half. So it's a little high.
Right.
We are probably going to be looking at the layout in great depth, obviously, because they still have to provide room for a sufficient drive aisle and parking at 2 spaces per unit. You know, there's a lot of stuff that they have to fit on that lot, and we would not let them exceed the density that would be allowed there.
Would that be 8 units per acre?
Yes.
Okay, so what you're saying then is even though they're asking for 51, we're going to limit them to 8 units gross per acre.
According to the comprehensive plan, that is what would be allowed in that designation.
Okay. Are you clear in what's being presented to us this evening that that's their intent? Is that they would meet the be less than 8 units per acre?
I haven't had that discussion with them. I know that they had wanted to make sure that this was all going to go through okay before they proceeded with spending the money to have it laid out.
Sure, I can appreciate that.
Yeah.
I just want, and that'll be a question that we'll just direct back to the applicant then later.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
And Rodney.
Mayor, I reached their voicemail immediately, so we tried, couldn't reach them.
Okay, thank you for trying. Appreciate that. So Christy, I just have one more question, and that is, so because we don't have anything that reflects what the development is, but my understanding is that they are restricted to no more than 2 stories. Is that correct for this development?
That is correct.
Okay. Okay, so the hardest part right now is online, but at this point, we do not have anyone else signed up to testify in favor of or against this particular project. And if I'm missing someone, is there anyone that I have missed? That said, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing. Well, excuse me. Before we do that, our applicant has the opportunity to come back. And so, Tim, would you like to come back? And I think there may be a couple of questions for you that have come up, and I don't know if you have any responses to the comments that you've heard and the discussion taking place.
Yes, we can answer the questions that's come up. As far as the renter, we'll work with them as, helping them with plenty of time to be able to find another place. It isn't going to happen overnight. So that is definitely something we're doing. With the density, we were working with the density that the comp plan said that we could put in there. That's why we were at that number we are at. Not to say that we may not get that because of the parking and everything. One of the reasons we don't have a preliminary plat is we are waiting to go through this process, and we want to work with the city on what best fits that space with what we can do there. Of course, we want to get the maximum amount of units we can in there, but like has been brought up tonight, and as we are well aware of, there are several things we have to look at. For instance, the fire turnaround, the roads going through there. Another thing I like to bring up is we are not planning on developing this to where we split all these off and sell these as individual units. We are looking at developing this under one complex and keeping this within our portfolio. We're not planning on selling this off. So this is something that we are looking at to keep in our portfolio for quite some time, and in doing so, we want to develop this so it best fits the community, plus what fits our needs as far as making sure this is a well-maintained property for a long time to come. As far as access and that, we definitely we will work with the city on making sure that road coming in there will be plenty adequate to take care of that traffic flow that we will create there. So, any other questions?
Mayor Kling, are you still there?
Whoops. Yes, I'm sorry, I muted. So
Okay.
Randy, thank you.
Just as a follow-up then, what our packet indicates is that the maximum ratio per acre is 8, which would allow you 32.8 units, not the 51 that you're requesting. Where did you come up with 51?
We worked with the city planner. I believe it was Randy on this. And that was where we came up with that. And that's when we presented this to the planning and zoning. Was how we came up with that number.
So you had a conceptual plan review with someone then at the city?
Yes, we have.
Okay. Christy, can you share any more light on that then?
Well, I inherited this project from Rodney. So I guess I'd have to defer to him to see what his conversation may have been with them. And I hate to do that to him on the spot like that.
Okay. Well, I just need clarity. They're asking for 51 units. By what the definition, they're only allowed 32.8. So where's the delta difference? Is there something in our report that's not accurate?
Mayor and Councilman Haverfield, this is Rodney. So we give just general information at that concept level. We didn't have a conceptual plan review. I never attended a conceptual plan review for this, but we did discuss it, and we outlined the concerns about the densities and the need to put in the roadways. And so I think it just comes down to that eventually they're going to be limited on what they're able to do, how many units they're going to be able to place in this property. just based on the need for parking and the need for roadways. I don't recall a specific number ever being discussed for the number of units on that property. But usually we just talk about generalities and discuss what the comprehensive plan would allow.
Okay, just again, for point of clarity, does the comp plan, with the RD zones, is it limited to 8 per gross acre as listed on our report? Or is it something other than that?
So Councilman Haverfield, as I'm sitting here kind of listening to some of this, so our medium density designation in the comp plan allows for 2.5 units to 8 units. That's kind of the ideal. When we look at the way the ordinance for the RD zone is written, it allows for a fourplex on 14,000 square feet. So when you divide that, you divide the 4.1 by the 14,000, that's where that 12.5 comes from.
Okay.
So they may not have been looking at the comprehensive plan limits. We may have been looking at the RD zone designation for the allowable square footage for a fourplex.
And that's what we were looking at.
Okay, that's where the clarity that I needed. And then there'll be 2 parking spaces plus 1 ADA space for every 25 spaces. Is that what will be required?
That is what the building department would require, yes.
All right, thank you.
So Mayor Darrell here, just a question for Mr. Kristovich, and I realize this is not, this is still generalities, but if it ends up being limited to 32 units on this 4 acres, is that something you're still then would feel like it was profitable for you to continue to proceed on?
We'd have to look at it at that lower density. Of course, like I've said earlier, we would prefer to go with a higher density.
That's, yeah, by all means, yeah.
But if we can, because of the parking and the roadways, if we can't design it, we can only get, let's say, 38 or 32. We would probably still go forward with it, but I would hate to be restricted right now as to only being able to do 32 at this point.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for the applicant at this time?
Mayor Kling, I just have a follow-up for Christy.
Okay.
If this is approved this evening, and since this will be one parcel developed, it will basically stay with staff. It won't come back before our commission a second time. So just for a point of clarification, we just want to make sure what we're approving tonight is with the understanding that we won't be seeing this again. It'll just be going forward for a building permit process. Is that correct, Christy?
Mayor and Council Haverman, yes, that would be correct. So that would go to a staff level review at that point to make sure that engineering is satisfied with all the conditions that they've placed, that planning and zoning is satisfied with all their conditions, and then building permits could be approved.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions for either staff or the applicant?
Mayor?
Yes.
Thank you. Christy, I'm still having a hard time digesting this. So on the packet information, it said the applicant's stated purpose was 51 units, and that's what was presented to us tonight. And then upon further questioning and reasoning by Councilman Haverfield, it was shown that 32 would probably be what fits on the property. And so I'm really confused how all this is working.
Okay. Mayor and Councilman Levi, so basically we've got 2 different documents working here. The comprehensive plan is our guiding document, and it indicates an 8 unit max per acre for that zone, or for that designation in that area in medium density. However, the RD zone that would ultimately be assigned to the property has a square footage maximum or minimum, however you want to look at that, for the types of dwellings that are being proposed. So in this case, he's proposing fourplexes and triplexes. A fourplex would require 14,000 square feet. So if you divide 4.1 acres by 14,000 square feet, you end up with the number of units that he's proposed here. If he has taken one of those properties for a triplex, then it actually only requires, let's see, what is it, 7 and 3.5, so 10,500 square feet for the triplex. So if you look at the overall amount of property that's available to him to be able to put the number of units that we've designated in the RD zone chapter, then what he's proposed fits into that designation. So the issue, I guess, then becomes, do we limit him to the guiding document, or do we allow for him to go forward with what is written in the zoning code for that zone?
Christy, this is Mayor Kling, and I have a question for you. When you're using the numbers as you are and the square foot allocations, do those square foot allocations include your parking spaces and your traffic lanes to access the facilities? Is that taken into consideration?
Mayor, no, it's not. Actually, it's a gross calculation. So it does not. So once they get the property laid out with the drive aisles and the parking and all of that, it may decrease the numbers that they can fit there.
Well, I would anticipate it to decrease, because if you're just looking at broad numbers without taking into consideration the required parking and the traffic lanes in and out, Randy, this is your area more than mine, but I would not anticipate that you could build 51 units without taking into consideration all your parking and your lanes, drive lanes.
Mayor, the way things have been developed here recently, because we've seen a lot of multifamily developments coming in, the property lines actually they come to the center line of the drive aisle, and they incorporate the drive aisle, the parking, and everything, and then we require that as an overall unit, they do a shared parking agreement. However, in this case, since they're not doing it parcel by parcel, there won't be any parcel lines in there. And so the entire area will be used to calculate the density that can be there, and then they just have to fit it in there. So it won't be carved up parcel by parcel.
Mayor?
That said, just one more question, and then Councilman Haverfield. The school district also stated that we needed the appropriate sidewalks, which are setbacks for sidewalks and lighting, etc. So I'm going to assume that that is taken into consideration there.
Well, the sidewalks, yes, would have to be put in with the development according to engineering conditions. As far as bus stops are concerned, they would need to work with Brown Bus Company to determine where those might ultimately end up.
Councilman Haverfield?
Yeah, and I appreciate you pointing out the math. I was going to do the same thing before, but you were able to get to it first. The math is the 4.1 acres divided by the 14,000. That is just the units themselves. That doesn't take into consideration site circulation, the parking area, or the landscaping. So the actual number of units can't be 51. It just, the math isn't there to support it. So going forward, unless they stack the units somehow and create more surface area by going vertical with the units themselves, but by limiting it to 2-story, I think we're probably looking at, again, in that 40 minus range for the number of units could actually be placed on the property.
Thank you, Councilman Haverfield. Yes.
Thank you, Mayor, for asking one of my questions, and thank you for your input again, Councilman Haverfield. So I'm looking back to our guiding document, the comprehensive plan, and then I'm looking at the RD zone. And one, I'm thinking, would we have eliminated that confusion if those two were more in sync And then going back to the math that you so astutely pointed out, Mayor Kling, I'm not sure, do we need to have more clarity when we're talking to our developers or something in writing to remind them so they're not setting their aspirations at this 51 number compared to 32 or 40 as Councilman Haberfield has suggested? Because listening to the applicant when he was asked if he could sustain going from 51 to about 32, there seemed to be a question and maybe even a surprise to him. So I'm still looking at this process and how it works and how we make a decision on that as a council.
So Mayor, Councilman Levi, that is one of the things that we are currently working on. So now that the comprehensive plan has been adopted with those changes in it, we are working with Doug Waterman currently to clarify and revise some of the terminology that's in our code. And that will be coming before you shortly to make some of those changes so that they are more consistent with one another.
Thank you for the update, Christy.
Thank you.
So the other thing that I'd like to comment on this is that we've got a potential 32 units and we don't have an opportunity to see what it is. One of the things that we have talked about with other developments is ensuring that there is some open green space. There is a place, if there were to be children here and everything's stacked in, I'm not seeing that there's a place for even a safe place to ride a bike, to a playground area, or so especially if we were looking at trying to get this many units in this area. So I guess my concern would be, as we move forward, it's important that what we're building has the capability of housing our residents in a very positive way, especially if it's involved with school-age children, which that possibility could be there, or younger children, to have safe places for them to be able to be outside. So this is really more of a process question because if this doesn't come back to us and we don't get to approve design, while we appreciate development and I'm not opposed to it, I think it's also important that we have the proper setup that is appropriate for families in our community, which is the setbacks, the aesthetics, the sidewalks, and then a safe place for children. Is there any planned area for children or young adults to congregate on this property?
So with everything that's been said, I don't have a problem bringing this back to the council. What I'm asking for is the opportunity to zone this as an RD right now. And then in the next few months, what we wanted to do is work with the city and our engineers and develop a nice complex here that would accommodate things we're talking about. Make it so that it is nice for the community. We want residents that's going to come in here and stay here, not just for a couple weeks. We want them here for years, if possible. So, it's been my experience working with cities. If we just come in and work with you, and develop our developments in a way that's best fits the zoning that's in place, and also with what your view of your vision of your community would be. That's what our goal is. But at this point, we have a hard time doing that and spending the money in that area, not knowing what if we have an RD zoning or not. So that's why we're at this point. We want the zoning and the annexation so we can go forward with that, and knowing that our money can be well spent at that point. So,
Mayor, this is Darrell. And
yes.
Mr. Kostovich, you say you have several other developments. Do you have a like development in another municipality as what you're wanting to do here, already built?
I've got mostly single family stuff going. I have one in Middleton that we've done. It's turning out to be a really nice development. I'm working with another family trust group in Eagle that we're helping them develop and build their
Yeah, what I'm getting at is if you had something already finished that was somewhat similar to what you're looking at doing here, I guess personally that would be something I would like to see.
Right.
What one of your finished products with multiple housing looks like.
We don't have one. We don't have one that is what we're looking at doing here. We don't have one like this yet.
Okay. All right.
This is a new concept for us of what we want to do here.
Thanks.
And the other thing we've done, we do have a fourplex design, and one of the concerns that were brought up at the last meeting from the neighbors was people having balconies in the back of the houses, sitting there looking at their backyards. We did design the fourplexes we are designing right now have all the balconies in the front, so they will be facing the front of the area and not towards the back, towards the neighbors and the community. So we have taken some of the feedback we've heard from the community in the last meeting and implemented it into some of our designs already. So
follow up, Mayor, if I may, with Christy. Christy, you're still there, I take it?
Yes.
This is Darrell. Okay, so I realize we have some things process-wise not in place, design review and so on. So if we okay this annexation and RD zoning, and then it never comes back to us, who is going to, I realize Mr. Kostovich says that they will do everything, work with you closely, but who's going to actually oversee this, where there is a children's area, everything of that sort? Who's going to control that? Will that be your department?
So Mayor and Councilman Bruner, that's a tough question. There's a lot of those types of details that are not covered by our code at this time. We are working in the design review code right now to make some changes for the multifamily developments, which would include this. And it does talk about pedestrian amenities, which include open space and benches and seating areas and walkable space. And then, of course, the design elements for the 3D elevations for those buildings. Currently, we're talking about entitlements on the property, and our code for this particular type of development does not have those types of requirements.
So this is Mayor Kling, and I would like to ask a question of legal. I think my recommendation would be, if we can do this, is that if this is something that we would actually go ahead and move forward with, can we put a condition on it pending the work that needs to be done within our codes to accomplish what Christy has just said? And I will say, as I'm asking this question, staff, we need to get this done immediately, because this is an absolute hole for us as a council to be talking about this and not have the means in place to be able to guide the development of our community the way we feel like it needs to be. But question for legal counsel, can we, if the council would so choose to move forward with the annexation and zoning to RD, could we put any stipulations on this for what we expect the development to look like?
Mayor, yeah, the answer to that is yes. Typically, you can impose conditions on the annexation of property. We would have to articulate at this time, if it's approved tonight, if the annexation and zone designation is approved, you'd have to articulate with some specificity so that it could be enforced what those conditions are.
Thank you. So I think that may shorten our time this evening if the council so chooses to move forward, that we could put those conditions on at this time of the motion.
Mayor?
Yes.
One last question, if I might, please. So I've heard the statement multifamily several times, but yet I look at the agenda and it says zoning to RD 2-family residential. So is this a 2-family residential, or is it being annexed and zoned to a multifamily?
Well, Mayor and Councilman Levi, I guess I can answer that question. The RD zone allows everything from single family up to fourplex units. Fourplex units, by our definition, are multifamily. So our D stands for duplex. So it's kind of the between single family and the higher density multifamily. It's just kind of that happy medium where we only allow up to a fourplex. So it fits better into the community than maybe an apartment complex.
and follow up, if I might, Christy or Mayor. So a couple months ago, when we voted that there were certain types of land use that would be coming before the council and not stop at approval to the Planning and Zoning Committee, I remember multifamily. Now, so the multifamily is before us tonight. However, once we approve it, everything else goes to design review, and the council is no longer involved in that, correct?
Yeah, it
Unless,
doesn't even go to design review. Actually, it just comes straight to staff.
so
Unless
that
it's
said, that is why we would actually, at this time, as legal counsel suggested, we could put stipulations on the annexation and zoning for the conditions of development right now.
Okay, that's what I thought I heard. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you, both of you.
Mayor Kling, one last question
Yes.
for Christy. In looking at the recommended conditions of approval, it talks about frontage improvements, but it doesn't state what those improvements are. Is it curb, gutter, and sidewalk? What is being discussed here as far as frontage improvements?
I'm going to defer to Daniel on that one.
Mayor, Councilman Haverfield, on this particular one, based on the current codes, they would be required to do just sidewalk. They would not be required to do the curb, gutter, sidewalk, and pavement widening.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So are there any further questions for the applicant and or staff at this time? And for the applicant, this has been a lengthy discussion. Do you have any closing remarks before we close our public hearing?
The only thing I could say is our goal as a company is to work with the cities to develop communities that best reflect the city, that makes sense. We play within the rules of the city, of the zoning and your ordinances. We don't try to come back and ask for anything extra and try to push for things outside of your zoning. We've always just tried to work within your zoning and comply with what you've put out there for zoning. So that's what we do, and we try to do it the best we can. So
Thank you. We appreciate those comments.
Thank
Thank
you.
you very much. So at this time, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Council discussion and motion.
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
I'm in support of the project, so I would make a motion to allow the annexation and zoning to RD with the recommended conditions of approval as written in our report, and also to add to that a preliminary plat be prepared and presented back to City Council for our review. If that is something that I could get a second and then clarification from legal on.
I'll second that.
Okay.
As long as
So
it can come before council. That's why I'm seconding it. So
Right.
yes, please.
So clarification from legal, is that an appropriate motion?
I think it's an appropriate condition. And this is kind of a question probably for Christy. I think maybe rather than having a preliminary plat come back, you'd have a site plan come back.
Correct.
That's the point, because it may not require a subdivision to improve if it's going to remain under single ownership. Christy, do you have thoughts on that?
Actually, I do. One of the things that we could do as we go forward into the readings for this annexation is we could include a development agreement. And then at that point, the concept plan within the development agreement would come back to you for review before the annexation is completed.
So by adding the verbiage of a development agreement, it would all automatically include a plat or a site plan?
That is correct, yes.
And would it include also the images of what the buildings would look like?
If you choose to put that condition in there, we can request that.
Okay, I'll amend my motion then to state that we're recommending approval of the annexation and zoning to RD as presented to us with the recommended conditions of approval, adding that a development agreement would be included, which would bring back before council the preliminary site plan and elevation studies for the building.
I'll amend my second as stated by the
Thank
motion.
you. Well stated, Randy.
Thank
Is
you.
there any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Mayor?
Whoop, yes.
Thank you. While I appreciate their desire to come into our community and to build a nice project, and I also appreciate the efforts in Councilman Haverfield's motion in the development agreement with conditions of approval, I still have I'm a bit challenged to see a multifamily in an area that is surrounded by single family homes.
Okay, thank you for those comments, Councilwoman Levi. Are there any further comments or discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mucci,
Yes.
Levi,
No?
Bauer, Bauer,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Okay. So that concludes item 6.1, our first public hearing, and I believe our applicant is also involved in item 6.2 on the agenda. This is a zoning map amendment from IP, which is Industrial Park Single Family Residential to Multifamily Residential at 335 North Gateway Street. This is a 1.25 acre lot, approximately 54,450 square feet. And this is in Nampa City Acres, Edition 1 for a 100 unit multifamily project. Again, for applicant Tim Kristovich. And our applicant is here. Mr. Tell me if I'm pronouncing your name correctly, Kristovich?
You are Kristovich. That's correct. Yeah, you
Okay.
did good.
Thank you. So we will assume the same address as your first presentation, Kuna, and I think you stated it earlier.
Correct.
Okay, go ahead and share with us about this project.
So this is an opportunity zone. We found this property very interesting that we could come in and upgrade it. The zoning does say we could put 100 units in it. As in the last discussion, because of fire requirements, road requirements, we're looking at around 32 to 28 units. We're working on that right now. I met with my engineers today on this project, and we're working on a site plan, trying to put something together here that would work in here with the parking that is required. So we're looking at putting in another nice complex that we would hold for long term in our company, and basically do the same thing we talked about on the last one. Just make a nice little community here. So
Wonderful. Thank you. As you know, we'll come back and have a discussion.
Yep.
So thank you so much. And Christy, we'll let you provide the staff report.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor and Council. Christy Watkins, Principal Planner for the City of Nampa. The action requested from you tonight is approval of the zoning map amendment from IP, which is defined as Industrial Park, /RS as Single Family Residential, to RMH, which is Multiple Family Residential at 335 North Gateway Street. The property consists of 1.25 acres and is currently zoned IPRS. It is proposing zoning to RMH. Some of the area out there, I don't know if you guys are familiar with some of the conversations that have happened in that particular area, but we have dual zoning on a lot of the properties out there because it was a mix of industrial uses, single family uses, multiple family uses. And so we provided this dual zoning as a way to say, you know, if your neighbor happens to be a manufacturing facility like Americold used to be over there, and you wanted to do something industrial on your property, you'd have that option. Or if you wanted to keep it residential, you could do that as well. So this is a very unique area of town And so the RMH actually would clarify some of that for us. The future land use designation, arrows are not working. There we go. The future land use designation is high density residential, and the uses desired in that designation include some medium density residential, some commercial, community mixed use, industrial, public, and education zoning options. The area around this parcel includes many different types of zones. These zones consist of RML, which is limited multifamily residential, RMH, which is higher density multifamily residential, ILRS, light industrial and single family, IPRS, which is industrial park and single family, and heavy industrial. City utilities are immediately available to the property, and access will be taken from North Gateway Street. Access will not be granted to or from on Northside Boulevard. So here's a view of the empty lot from North Gateway Street. And then this is an aerial view of the property. And these are the links that were included in your staff report for the various uses and sign codes that would be applicable to the RMH zone. This proposed use is for the 31 unit apartment complex, which is an allowed use. And the overall density will ultimately, again, be determined by the property layout with the drive aisles and the parking calculated appropriately. So this was another one that was heard at P&Z about the time that we started closing things off, the buildings to the public. So this is the public input that was given at that time. Also included in the minutes that you received on Friday. So staff analysis shows that the area is designated for high density residential in the comprehensive plan. The comp plan also emphasizes the benefits for higher density infill development and utilities and roads that are readily available to the site. Emergency services are located very nearby, and the right-of-way improvements will be completed as part of this project. The project does fit the definition for infill development quite well. If council votes to recommend or votes for approval of this, they would have to find the following: that the proposed zoning map amendment would be in harmony with the city's currently adopted comp plan, that the proposed zoning amendment would provide for a proposed use or set of uses that would be reasonably compatible with the existing or adjoining properties, that the proposed zoning map amendment would make a change on the land use map for the city that would establish an area of zoning the same as or compatible with the immediately adjoining districts, that the proposed zoning map amendment would not create a spot zone or having a section of one kind of zoning surrounded by another and having no supportive basis by the comp plan. The proposed zoning map amendment would be in the interest of the public and reasonably necessary. So should council approve this rezone tonight, staff would recommend the approval with conditions as listed in your staff report. And I will stand for any questions.
Are there any questions for Christy?
Mayor, just one question. Christy, just location wise, this is right close to the current Gateway Apartments.
Yes, that is correct. It's just very near to them.
Okay. So but not connected. I mean, there's something in between before you would get to this landmass. Okay.
I'd have to move the map around a little bit to see exactly. I'm not sure if the Gateway Apartments are located north of that or if they're the adjoining apartments south of that.
Mayor Darrell, they are the Gateway Apartments are directly south, sharing a property line.
Okay. Because I thought there's a for sale sign just north of Gateway Apartments on that land. So this is already purchased by Mr. Christopher. I'll ask him, I guess, that question. So, okay.
That would be fine. In our packet, there's actually a Zoom map that gives a little bit better indication that shows
Right.
yeah, I don't know if Christy, if you have that you can show it, but it's there in our packet.
Yeah,
which,
I guess what I'm getting at a little bit, I've never been real impressed with it. So hopefully this project, if approved, would be an improvement to that area. All right, thanks.
Mayor,
yes.
Christy, did Mr. Kristovich at the beginning of this conversation say that it would not be suitable for a 100-unit multiple family apartment project following the previous discussion?
I believe he said after conversations with engineering and the fire department, he determined that that density wouldn't work there.
Okay, so we may be up against what we were with the previous, that it's
possibly.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And we will have Mr. Kristovich come back and actually speak to that in just a moment. Are there any, before we move into public testimony, are there any other questions from council? Okay, so Christy, could you go back in your presentation to the comments that were received? In our packet, I have it says that there are no comments received, but I think you shared that there were some comments, right?
Yeah, so that was a mistake in my staff report. Unfortunately, I did not delete that line after the Planning and Zoning Commission hearing. There were just these comments as listed here. So they did not wish to speak, but they signed in as opposed or undecided. And then Ginger Cloward did present a letter in opposition.
Okay. Can you go back and remind us? I do not have anyone signed up to speak as far as my records go on behalf of or in opposition to this. Council, do you, I guess the question is, do you have any questions? Would you like Christy to go over these, or do you feel like you have the information you need? I just want to make sure we give it the appropriate public hearing as needed.
I'm good.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay. So with that, I don't have anyone signed up other than what was included. I don't have anyone signed up in favor of or in opposition to this particular project. Is there anyone that had intended to speak on this that was signed up online that we've missed? Seeing none.
Mayor?
Yes.
I'm sorry for interrupting. I didn't get my microphone unmuted at the time when you had asked for council comments. Christy, I just wanted to verify with you that at the end of the Boulevard and 4th North, aren't there other multifamily dwellings down in that area?
So Mayor and Councilman Levi, I'm not sure if you can see the screen, the bird's eye view that's up here on 4th Street North. There is the apartment complex that's up in the right-hand corner of the screen.
Okay.
Those are the newer ones that are there.
Okay, but that's not what's being developed on that corner, correct?
Oh, straight north? That I'm not sure.
Okay.
I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So this would be the opportunity for Mr. Kristovich to come back and provide response to the comments and the questions that have come forward before we close public hearing.
Yeah, I just wanted to address the 100 units. So the zoning that would allow 100 units, but of course, we talked about this at the last hearing with the planning and zoning, and I clarified it at that point that we were looking at that point of somewhere around the 32 units, possibly even down to 28, depending on how we can do the parking, because we need 2 spaces per unit. So right now we're looking at 28 to 32 units in there. Just depends on how we can lay it out, and we're working on that right now. So other than that, I mean, if you have any questions, I'm open to answering any questions. We do want to design this and build it so it's a nice complex and simple. It'll be a simple complex, so it won't be too I'm looking for the word too intricate. It'll be fairly simple complex. So.
Okay, are there any questions from the council for our applicant this evening? Okay, so seeing no further questions, thank you, Mr. Kristovich, for your final closing comments. And at this time, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Council discussion?
Mayor Kling?
Yes.
Again, I think this would be an acceptable solution for that location. But again, I would like to add a couple of things to the recommended conditions of approval. But I'll make a motion to allow the zoning map amendment from IPRS to the RMH as requested. The recommended conditions of approval, adding a development agreement to require a plat or site plan be developed along with building images for review by council.
I'll second that, Darrell, seconding.
Okay, is there any council discussion before we call for the roll call?
Mayor.
Oh, go ahead.
All right, thank you. I'm excited about the development. We know that we need more, we need more housing on that side of town. There's been a lot of discussion about this specific need. I'm also excited to see somebody taking advantage of the opportunity zone. I feel like this would be a nice addition with Councilman Haverfield's motion. I think this will be really well suited in that area. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilwoman Levi?
Thank you, Mayor. And I appreciate your comments, Councilwoman Mucci. I am approving this development because one of the location, it abuts an existing multifamily. There are other multifamily up and down the Northside Boulevard and in the surrounding area. And I am very happy to vote in favor of this project.
Are there any further discussions? Hearing none, roll call.
Mucci,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Brunner,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
Thank you. And Mr. Kristovich, I just would like to say I fully agreed with Councilwoman Mucci's comments regarding taking advantage of the opportunity zone. I'm very pleased for you to be able to do that, and for the development in this location that's needed, and for the housing that we need in our community. So thank you for investing in our community. We appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I look forward to coming back with those site plans for you.
Great. We look forward to seeing them. That'll be fun. Thank you. Okay, so we have just concluded 2 of 5 public hearings. What I would like to do is go ahead and move through public hearing 6.3, and then we are going to take a very brief, just 5-minute break because we've been sitting here for 2 hours, and then we've got a little bit more, quite a bit more to go. So we would like to move forward with item 6.3 on the agenda. This is an action item, which is a zoning map amendment from light industrial to limited multifamily residential at 23 22nd Avenue South. This is a 0.16 acre or 6,970 square foot portion. And it's for a lot split and additional single family dwelling for Adam Fleck, representing Casey Ames. So is our applicant present?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Go ahead and state your name and your address, and then we'll let you please share with the council your project.
Hi, so my name is Adam Fleck. My address is 3911 North Patricia Lane in Boise, and I'm working with Casey Ames here of Gem State Cash Offer. He's purchased his property with the intent to just do a small lot split similar to some of the other corner lots that are in the area. And basically to add another single family dwelling onto this lot. But unfortunately this is just in the light industrial zoning. So before we can go ahead with the lot split, we need to get it rezoned into that multifamily or to the RML zoning, even though it'll be simply a single family that's going in there. And so fairly straightforward, shouldn't be as complicated as some of the other ones that we've heard already tonight. And in the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting that we've had so far, the main objection was the site map to be determined for parking, and then obviously the street upgrades for sidewalk and stuff. Sidewalk and access and everything that will be provided by through the development of that second single family dwelling, and then also parking. We are I have the ability to share my screen. I don't know if you guys are able to do that. We have just kind of a quick SketchUp image I could share. Maybe I could just send it to Rodney.
Well, please, you're welcome to share.
Okay. Well, let me see this here. Yes, this should work. All right, can everyone see this screen? This is kind of a zoomed in satellite image of the subject property.
It hasn't come through yet.
Okay. Okay, here we go. I can actually pick this here. There we go.
I think it's on its way. There we go.
All right. So again, this is kind of a without the overlays that were provided in the packet. You can kind of see where the two buildings here are situated. The gray roof building here is actually is an existing garage that will be torn down in place of the other single family. So there's a couple options we have for parking. In between the two buildings, which would satisfy, off-street parking for both in yellow for the new proposed single-family dwelling, and then we have two options for the existing single-family dwelling. Prefer to have them in between, so that way we don't have to mess with these trees over here. But that would be determined through the building code process or building application process and lot split process as well. So where we eventually end up dividing this lot line will that final survey will inform that decision, that final decision.
Okay. Did we lose you, or are you still there?
Well, yeah, I'm still here. I believe that those were the objections brought on by the commission, and they were just recommendations for going forward prior to the council. So, with regards to that, it's up to you guys for discussion. I would say.
Okay. So as you know, I'll open it up for any questions from council that, as you probably experienced on our last public hearing, after the staff report, we'll also come back and open public hearing and then give you the opportunity to provide closing comments and answer any further questions. Okay. So thank you very much, but I will ask council, do you have any questions at this time? Okay, seeing none, we'll move into staff report, public hearing, and we'll be right back, Adam, to finish up with you. And thank you for sharing your screen with us. Okay. So, Rodney.
Yes, Mayor and Council, thank you. Just a quick reminder about what is being requested. The action before you is a zoning map amendment from IL to RML at 23 22nd Avenue South. And they have proposed a lot split and construction of a new single family home on the property. So the total property size is 0.16 acres, or about 7,000 square feet. The comp plan lists it as industrial, but it's directly across the street from high density residential. So the gray that is shown there on the screen is the industrial, and the kind of light brown is the high density residential. The proposed zoning is to stretch that RML, limited multifamily residential, across the street. And I will show you there's a little bit closer view of the comp plan. And then there is the zoning. So the RML zone to the south and the IL zone, or light industrial zone, in the gray. So to the northwest is an abandoned single-family home, zoned IL. To the southwest is a single-family homes, one of which is on a substandard sized lot and zoned RML. To the west is a fourplex, zoned RML. And to the northeast is a pallet storage, Tasman leather production, light industrial. I wasn't real clear about the use, but it looked like a more industrial use. Southeast and east is the railroad switching yard, and zoned IL. So public utilities are available at the site. Public services, all are present. Since the property has been used for 2 dwellings in the past, this will have no real significant impact on police and fire, because they're already servicing this area, or have been. Transportation, it's unclear how the required parking will be placed on the property, but again, as he's indicated, there are some locations, and we'll have to analyze that as we move forward. One of my concerns is what he showed for parking is, as you can see in this drawing, the property line is actually pretty near the existing garage out there. So we're going to need 20 feet of setback for parking there. So likely what he'll need to do is go in between the 2 buildings, as he suggested he prefers to do. That will just need to be outlined in when he submits a permit. So March 24th was the public hearing before Planning and Zoning Commission, and they recommended approval with conditions. The staff recommended conditions. Here are the required findings. If you decide to rezone to RML, it's consistent with the comprehensive plan, because the comprehensive plan can be stretched. And with that condition, the zoning fits the comprehensive plan. And again, you would need to determine whether it's appropriate and reasonably necessary to rezone this. Correspondence, we didn't receive many, but City of Nampa Engineering Division noted that they do not oppose this application, but any future development of the site will require frontage improvements in accordance with Nampa City Code. Those include the sidewalk, and I think the next item there is basically the same, installation of sidewalks per city standards. And then Nampa Building Department basically just needs to comply with Title IV of our code. So staff analysis, the owner claims that the garage dwelling in the rear of the property, as shown on the aerial and street views, will be torn down, and that they are proposing to do a corner lot split to construct an 1,100 square foot home in its place. The applicant has indicated where they believe the parking will go. We'll analyze that as part of the permit. And then I provided the land uses in the staff report, a link to the land uses. Here are the recommended conditions, basically complying with what comments we received from engineering and building. And then that condition about parking. And here's your potential motion, and I would stand for questions.
Okay, Council, do you have any questions for Rodney? Seeing none, we will move to public testimony. This is a public hearing, and I do not have anyone listed to testify in support of or in opposition to this project. And I'll just confirm with Rodney to make sure that you did not also have anyone that had signed up that you're aware of to speak on behalf of this evening. Is that correct?
That's correct. I didn't receive any communication.
Okay. And is there anyone that I could have missed that is online? Hearing none, this would be an opportunity for the applicant to come back. Adam, if you, or Mr. Fleck, I should say, have any closing comments or any comments regarding your project after Rodney's presentation?
Nope, not anything to add.
Okay, Council, do you have any further questions before we close public hearing? Seeing none, I would stand for a motion to close public hearing.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jean. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Oh, excuse me, this is all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Okay, we'll get this right. Thank you. Okay, so council discussion and or motion.
Okay, I guess I'll make another motion.
Thank you, Randy.
Mayor Kling, I'll go ahead and make the motion to allow the zoning map amendment from IL to RML as listed in our staff report with the recommended conditions of approval.
And I guess I get to be the second tonight for a while too, so Darrell's second.
That's usually the way it works.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Mucci,
Yes.
Levi,
Yes.
Bauer,
Yes.
Bruner,
Yes.
Haverfield.
Yes.
And Mr. Fleck, I want to say thank you for investing in the community because that looks like it will be improvement to that property. So thank you very much.
You're much more than welcome. Thank you, councilors.
Thank you. Okay, so that concludes our public hearing 6.3 on the agenda. We have two more public hearings, but these two, we do have a number of people wanting to testify. In fact, I think we've got some lengthy public hearings ahead of us. We've been meeting for about almost 2.5 hours now. I would like to suggest that we pause for about 7 minutes and reconvene at about 8:30. So let's just take a break for council. We can mute and just pause for just a second. This gives us an opportunity to break. So we'll be back.
Darrell. You're muted.
Yeah.
You got a call from Dwayne.
I did too.
He's up on the hilltop. He's
moving on to, and I'll trust that we are live. We're moving on to action item 6.4 on the agenda. And I'm going to say the next two agenda items, we've got a lot of people that are signed up for these items. I think we've got about 21 or so on the first one and maybe 12 or so on the second one, but not everyone would like to testify. So just so that people know, as we step into the public hearing phase, that I am going to read your name and then I'll give you, because my understanding is not everyone wants to speak, and for sake of time, we may not. I'll read your name and what you're saying you're in favor or you're opposed. We are going to go with those in favor first, followed by those opposed. So we'll try to go through the process, but we've got quite a few people waiting. And I do want to say to all of you waiting, thank you. We appreciate your patience tonight because some of you have been on since 7. And so you've spent your entire evening on, and we appreciate that. And so thank you very much.
Mayor,
yes.
Before we get into this, just for clarification purposes, we have Darrell Bruner and I both serve on the Nampa Development Corporation, and we had our legal counsel check in to see if there was any reason why we would have to recuse ourselves from this next topic. And the recommendation from our counsel was that no. That we both, even though we serve on the NDC, we have not participated in any discussions that would be concerning this item that are not or out of the realm of what we need to be. So we're both okay with being able to participate in this conversation and the vote that will take place at the end of the discussion. So,
Randy, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing those comments. We appreciate it. Okay, so item number 6.4 is an action item. This is annexation with zoning to light industrial. This is for 15 parcels totaling 346.57 acres that are located between Cherry Lane on the south, Ustick on the north, Midland Boulevard on the west, and Northside Boulevard on the east. This is section 4 in Nampa, Canyon County for the city of Nampa. And this is on behalf of 7 different property owners. And the Planning and Zoning Commission has recommended approval. So I believe our applicant that will be speaking to this evening, Beth Einig, are you doing that this evening?
Yes, I am, and I'm ready to share my screen.
Thank you, Beth.
Okay. Mayor and Council, I have a short presentation here that I will share with you. I wanted to just start out briefly with a little bit on kind of the why and our purpose. So I know that you are familiar with our mission statement for the city of Nampa, that we shall seek to facilitate economic opportunity by encouraging free market principles, supporting the community by providing incentive for economic development, and investing in our infrastructure and operating efficiencies. And one of kind of the mantra statements that we talk a lot about within the city, and certainly Mayor Kling knows this one well, is a safe and healthy community where people prosper, and really trying to focus on how do we create that type of community. This is an important component to the work that we do within economic development. Our purpose is to work with our property owners, developers, and business community to create an environment of prosperity. So with that, we know that it's important to look at our industry sectors and how we're moving forward. One of the important aspects is really in creating that opportunity for future generations, and this is the people prospering component. We know that advanced manufacturing is at the core of STEM-related fields and is definitely a growing opportunity for us. Wages within manufacturing in Canyon County are 14% higher than the average hourly wage, with an average of $21.70 an hour. And job opportunities for Nampa residents, we certainly have almost 28,000 people that commute out of the city for work every day, and we are working hard to create those opportunities within the city. I also wanted to note that just in the past 5 years, manufacturing jobs in Canyon County have increased 55% faster than the Boise Metro and 440% faster than the nation. We know that this is a huge opportunity for our community, but we are lacking shovel-ready property. This area here in North Nampa, as the mayor mentioned, is between Ustick and Cherry, Midland and Northside, as kind of that square mile. We know that we need this available property. Today, our request is to annex and zone this property outlined in red on the map on your screen for industrial use. The original request mirrored the comprehensive plan, which called for a mixture of heavy and light industrial. And at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, they recommended support for the project with a light industrial designation. Our office views the light industrial as an acceptable zoning designation for this, as most of the projects that we seek to locate in Nampa would fit within a light industrial zoning. As you can see on this map, Canyon County has already rezoned nearly 200 acres of property to industrial. That's indicated in orange. That is really tied to the corner of Ustick and Midland, both north and south of Ustick. And then certainly to the south, there's nearly 100 acres of projects moving forward that have already been annexed and zoned into the city with a combination of light industrial and heavy industrial. And kind of just looking at why this area for industrial development. Well, certainly Amalgamated Sugar has been in this area since 1943. A couple of years ago, they celebrated their 75th anniversary in Nampa. They've served as a primary anchor for industry in Nampa for the last 75 years, and have had a lot of industrial development around them, including Go-Go Squeeze, Admiral Beverage, Heartland RV, Plexus. There are many warehousing facilities that have been developed in the last 5 years by the Van Acker companies prior to their sale to Adler Industrial. And in 1994, the area up to Cherry was established as industrial land for future land use. And then in 2004, the city expanded that industrial designation north through Ustick Road. And shortly after this 2004 designation on the future land use map, the Nampa Development Corporation and the city of Nampa established the 2006 Economic Development Redevelopment Plan, which is adopted at the end of 2006, that specifically cited this area as part of that urban renewal district for industrial development. Their participation with the Nampa Development Corporation also results in the ability for them to partner with development in the future to provide adequate infrastructure. Most recently in 2012, and then just the last couple of months with the council adoption of our most recent comprehensive plan, this area has been identified for industrial development and has been open to public comment throughout that period. At the adoption just a couple months ago, there was no one who spoke in opposition of the current comp plan adoption for this designation. We know that a lot has certainly changed when it comes to manufacturing since 1943, and manufacturing tends to look different than amalgamated sugar when first constructed. We know that it looks much more clean. Gone are kind of the days of smokestacks and industrial activity of the 1940s and 50s, but much more focused on a clean environment with food processing, research and development. We have companies in Nampa that are developing autonomous vehicle technology